Social learning theory has an effect on the mentoring relationship and the process of reflective practice in an educational environment. Social learning theory distinguishes between the acquisition of knowledge or learning and the performance, the observed performance based on that knowledge. And both of these are internal and external factors, and they're important because it's the interacting of these two processes in terms of learning for the reflective practitioner. And there is an idea around reciprocal determinism, and there's an explanation of this in the sense that the behaviour of an individual emphasises how they are affecting the work in the learning environment and how the environment impacts on them. And in this sense, there's a distinction between positive learning, enactive learning, and what is known as vicarious learning. Enactive learning is learning by doing and experiencing, and results from the consequences of our actions. And the consequences are seen as providing information for us, which we take as learning. They support appropriate actions and create expectations for us in terms of learning, and they can also influence our motivation. Vicarious learning is different to enactive learning, whereas it's learning by observing others. The emphasis is on modelling, others modelling behaviours and attitudes, and therefore the reflective practitioner imitating those behaviours and values, and learning occurs through this imitation. So two main modes of observational learning, this vicarious approach. The first is about vicarious reinforcement. Vicarious reinforcement is important because it happens automatically for us. The second notion is that learning by observing others imitates particular models, behavioural models, even though the model receives no reinforcement. Just by watching, we learn and we take on board particular behaviours. The other aspect of observational learning is that observation is, of course, extremely efficient for the reflective practitioner. There's no real effort in terms of having to write. It is just about observing and understanding. And social cognitive theory distinguishes between the acquisition of learning and the performance of learning. And in this sense, there are four key elements to be considered for observational learning. These elements are attention, how much attention the individual pays to watching a role model, the retention of understanding and learning from that observation, and then production, the individual putting into practice what has been learned, and then finally motivation and reinforcement, how the reflective practitioner uses this observation to motivate themselves and to reinforce new behaviours. And observational learning then has 5 possible outcomes. The first of these is that it teaches new behaviours. Modelling can deliberately be applied to practice once it's been explored, and this can be very powerful for the reflective practitioner. The second possible outcome for observation is that it encourages learned behaviours. If you can see another teacher doing exactly the same things as you, then that reinforces, it encourages the behaviours that you engage with. A third outcome for observational learning is what's known as the ripple effect. By observing a teacher not managing, say, particular behaviour in the classroom, it's possible for the reflective practitioner to make conclusions based on that observation. For example, it could be about poor behaviour and the teacher not managing that poor behaviour, and the reflective practitioner can make connections and try to understand what that means. And then the final two aspects of observational learning are it directs attention to particular areas of need and interest, and also it arouses emotion. In observational learning, you may develop emotional reactions to situations that you've never personally experienced, and this can help you develop better reactions in the future.